All right, let's go ahead and get started. For those paying attention in the chat, what leafy green is Lenexa, Kansas known for, where Basys is located? Supposedly spinach. They were supposedly the spinach capital of the world in the 1930s. So that's just a little tidbit of information for you there. And now we'll get to the real good stuff. So we're thrilled to have Basys presenting today. Their team with us today is Kyle Cook. You see there on the screen, Kyle Brown and Jennifer Urban. So excited to have them present. And like I said, we will get this recording to you guys if you need to run or uh, yeah. But anyways, Kyle, take it away. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Josiah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your afternoon to learn more about our exciting partnership and collaboration that we have with ActionFlow. As Josiah mentioned, my name is Kyle Cook. I'm the Director of Software Sales at Basys. Kyle Brown is my Senior Sales Executive. And Jen Urban is our Integration Support Manager. So we're here today to share more about that relationship and some of the work we've done with ActionFlow, some of the exciting advancements and innovation that we've done to ultimately help you all out. First of all, big thanks, obviously, the ActionFlow team for inviting us to this webinar and be a part of this conversation. And thanks to everyone in the room for joining in. So quickly, an agenda. I know we've only got 30 minutes, so we'll breeze through this, but I'll cover the partnership overview, and then we'll talk a little bit more about why this makes sense. And then Mr. Kyle Brown will talk through the sales support process and how we'll work together moving forward. So for a little bit of context about Basys, based out of Lenexa, Kansas, obviously the spinach capital of the world in the 1930s. That was something I didn't know, so thanks for that. But we've been around since 2002. We're privately held, we're family owned and operated. I've been here for a little over 2.5 years, and since then we've gone from 100 employees, and currently we have about 200 employees on staff. Our main focus is integrated payment solutions, and we serve more than 20,000 merchants across the US. Some of our offerings include credit and debit card processing. Obviously, as we'll talk about today, we'll talk a little bit about our virtual terminal. It's IQ Pro. It's our proprietary gateway that's serviced in-house. We do e-commerce, mobile payments, and really we just design business solutions that are tailored to needs. I'd say what really sets us apart, though, is our service model. So everybody's based here in Lenexa as well. So we have all 200 folks here ready to answer the phone whenever an inbound call comes in. So 99% of the calls that we intake are answered within the first 3 rings. So you get a friendly human voice here at HQ. 90% of those calls are resolved within the first call. And so that resolution is quickly expedited and escalated if need be. Our net promoter score, which I learned actually ActionFlow has a higher net promoter score than us, which is very rare. It's top 1% of the business. I think y'all were at 76% is what I heard in St. Louis. That's a big deal. That's basically how likely it is to recommend your product or service to a friend or colleague. So ours is industry leading, 75 plus average. And then our average retention of our customers is over 10 years. So about 4 years ago, Basys expanded into the fintech space. So I mentioned our roots started in 2002 with banking and merchant services. And we really saw that model evolved, obviously, into the technology space and into software platforms, how we embed payments into softwares, much like we've done with ActionFlow. And today we've established over 80 integrated partnerships across the US. And obviously, one of the ones we're most excited about is ActionFlow. So we started conversations actually in January of 2024, and it all started with a cereal box, many of which you all have potentially received from Kyle. And I got this little snippet from Reese who sent this saying, okay, you got my attention. I'm eating the Frosted Flakes. Yes, you can eat them if you receive them. That's not just a marketing ploy. They actually are edible. He did mention the clever marketing. We definitely aligned on that, which was great. But really it teed up the conversation. And I think what stood out in that initial conversation is just how well our companies are aligned, both being family owned, both being privately held, obviously both being based out of the Midwest, that entrepreneurial spirit that we both share, really just pushing innovation and ultimately putting the customer first. So as those conversations progressed, We got to know a lot more members of the team, many of which are on this call. Reese, obviously, Kim, who's awesome, super helpful, and then also Jordan. And as I brought in more members of our team on the support side, we really felt that not only was this a business fit, this was a values fit. And what the result was is what we're going to talk about today is really an exciting innovation about a seamless integration between ActionFlow and Basys that really simplifies how payments are handled. Now you're able to initiate payments and manage payments directly within the software. And we really want that ability to be able to have everything in-house under one experience. And so why this makes sense, I'll have Kyle dive into some a little bit more on the value propositions, but gone are the days with this integration of the swivel chair processing where you're in one system taking payments and then inside of ActionFlow to reconcile those. We want to make this easy and simple and seamless. You're able to take payments over the phone. Obviously, there's security within our portal, and then the ability to get money faster, so funding faster. Obviously, we built this integration to make it easy for you to take and receive payments, and we can do that with payment links. We've got the ability, obviously, for next day funding, and really it's just about velocity and how quickly you can get payment and how quickly we can help you all set up. So for folks that are working in the back office and on the payment side, we want this to make your life a lot easier with this experience. With that, I want to leave enough time for Kyle to talk through the process, so what it looks like. If you're interested in the integration, we have many of you that are already using the integration, which we're very excited about. Thank you. We are still talking to other people who are interested in the integration, but maybe you're wondering, what do I do? What does that look like? What does that process look like? How quickly can I get set up? And so I'm going to pass the ball over to Kyle to share a little bit more about that. But again, just want to take the time to thank you all. Excited about the time with you and excited to learn how we can help.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you guys. I know some of you or most of you I've probably called and harassed you at least 5 to 10 times to try to have this conversation. And I understand that you guys are busy. Trust me, I've been in this industry now at Basys specifically, actually going on 9 years. And before I kind of get into the process of Basys, I do like to share kind of a couple of stories that I know for me as a business owner, I would feel peace hearing. So I actually was a college baseball player. I studied pre-med and biology. For some reason, I was a sucker for punishment. So I played college sports, got a biology degree, and then never used my degree. So right out of college, I went and worked for a digital advertising company where essentially what I did was I called small business owners in whatever way I could, and I sold them marketing campaigns that were supposed to drive new revenue for their business. And I did really, really well there. And these programs, if you've ever invested into a marketing program for your business, they tell you to leave like 18 to 24 months for this program to really ramp up. And that's when it would work. So obviously all of us are excited to sell this to help small business owners. Well, about 20 months into working at this company, I was starting to realize that the program I was selling actually didn't work. And there was these business owners that transparently, a lot of them could barely afford the program in the first place. And they were really relying on me to deliver. And once I found this out, what I did was I went and talked to my sales director and I said, hey, I can't sell this particular product anymore that I was really good at selling because it's not working, right? And I'm not at peace selling this. And long story short, they asked me to keep selling it. And about a month later, I was at Basys. And I've actually been at Basys ever since, now almost 9 years. And, to kind of get into that value proposition before we get into the process. So at Basys, so I've been in sales since I've been here. So I've seen just about everything with the industry. So ActionFlow, as y'all all know, they do their due diligence with everything that they do. And we're the same way. So as Kyle had mentioned, at Basys, we're 100% family owned, but comparing them to the industry or comparing us to the industry, the average retention rate in the credit card processing industry is actually lower than 60%, which is not good. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Those smoke and mirrors exist. And one question I always ask people is, if you were investing $1 million with a bank, but you couldn't get a hold of your bank, how long are you investing $1 million with them? And everyone's answer is really, typically they don't answer. They just kind of laugh, right? It's rhetorical. But what happens with credit card processing is it's out of sight, out of mind, meaning you shop it the first time like you shop your insurance and the lowest bidder wins. But what most business owners don't realize is your credit card processor actually has your money before anybody does, including your bank. Okay. So you might not have to call them a lot, but when you do, it's really, really important. So there's a lot of frustration around that. There's a lot of frustration around PCI compliance and security, which is really, really important. And for most business owners, I'm sure some of you are nodding your heads right now, just like you were when you found out we are famous for spinach. You were really impressed by that. But y'all don't have the time to be thinking about 120 questions drawn up by attorneys on the security of your credit card processing account. What a lot of processors will do is they'll send you a link one time. If you miss that link, you're now non-compliant, or if you answer some of those questions wrong, you're non-compliant. And if you do a basic Google search, the risks of being non-compliant in credit card processing, fines can get up to $100,000 a month if you were to be audited by the card brands and you're non-compliant. So it's really important. And a lot of people we work with, if I do 10 proposals, typically 70 to 80% of them are non-compliant. Okay. It's a big deal. And Basys, what we've done, as Kyle had talked about, is we've structured our entire business model around making sure that number one, service, and number two, or really 1A, 1B, service and security are taken care of from the very beginning of our relationship and every year moving forward. So everything here is under one roof. Nothing is outsourced. As he mentioned, we have a 99% first call answer rate. We're actually the only company that we know of that has an in-house PCI compliance team where their only job is to call you and take you through that annoying questionnaire in about 5 minutes every year. And then with y'all taking payments every single, or taking payments online, digitally, you're actually supposed to do a scan every quarter as well that we'll also do for you too. Okay. So this is a lot of that value add that we do provide that a lot of processors don't, because they just simply don't have the manpower to do it, or they don't structure their business model to do that. So with that being said, that's just so you do know a little bit more about us as a company. I always tell people you can call me directly, but the teams that we told you about, they're a lot smarter than I am. Okay. So I'd recommend calling them first, and then call me as kind of a last resort if there's something technical. But to get this process started, here's the best part is, first and foremost, to brag on ActionFlow. They actually took the time to build a custom integration with us. And that can be pretty rare because a lot of processors will leverage, you've probably heard of a gateway called authorize.net. Not trying to bash on authorize.net, but there is a lot of limitations you have as a business processing payments if the only way you're connected to your software is authorize.net. The most important downgrade you get is you're not able to get the best possible pricing or wholesale rates. Okay. That is something that we can provide. So with that being said, before we kind of walk through this, once we get this whole process finalized, all we need from you is about 5 minutes of your time to get what we need to get you approved. When you're approved, we just send the coding over to Josiah, Kyle, I think Kyle as well, Jordan, Kim, whoever will take it from us, right? The coding, and they plug it in on the back end, and everything works seamlessly within ActionFlow. You don't have to do anything. It's very, very simple. But to get that process going, okay, first step typically is I'll call and introduce myself and let you know that I need a month of your credit card processing statements. A lot of times people will ask why I need that, and I'm about to show you here in a second, but it actually is way more effective and actually way more beneficial for you as a company if you're working with somebody who's giving you a proper analysis to send your statements. It's actually a red flag if somebody calls and says, hey, we promise you a qualified rate of 2.7%. And the reason why that's a red flag is there's cards out there that cost more than 2.7%. So if you run a card that costs 3%, I've yet to see it in almost 9 years, your credit card processor isn't going to pay you to process with them. Okay. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to pricing. So I'm going to clear some of that up for you guys here today. So we get your statements from there. That's about a 3 to 5 minute call where I confirm a couple of things on how you process. We will then schedule a proposal where I'll walk through a side-by-side comparison to show you exactly what Basys is able to do for you down to the penny. Okay. All looks good there. I need about 5 more minutes to get what I need for the underwriting application or the application for underwriting. I essentially do that for you. So I get what I need. I prep the application. I send that to you via SureSign or electronic signature. If you've ever done one of those, that takes about 30 seconds. Once that's done, we submit that. That takes usually 3 to 5 business days to get you approved. As soon as you're approved, we send the coding, once it's completed, over to ActionFlow and their team, and you're saving money. And most importantly, you're saving time with the integration with ActionFlow. One thing I always tell people when I ask it on every proposal I do is, I know pricing is really important, and our goal every time is to save you money, but also what's the value of peace of mind? Knowing that you can work with somebody that has similar values as probably your business as well, but also, you have next day funding, you have teams you can actually get a hold of if something does happen or internet goes down. You can call us and we can help you. So with that, kind of moving forward into how we break down pricing. Okay. Okay, there we go. So this is a competitor statement of ours. And, at the Profit and Peace conference, I was able to kind of use my finger to point at this. I don't think y'all can see my mouse here, but this is actually not a Basys statement, but I want to kind of break down how card processing works just really quickly, so you know why we need your statements. Most people think all cards are the same if they're a Visa or a MasterCard. So the way card processing works, there's 4 card brands: Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. But within each one of those card brands, there's hundreds of card types: rewards cards, travel cards. You probably all have one in your wallet right now. All of those cards have different rates. So if you look at the top of the screen here, and you'll see on the left-hand side, it says VSMC, right? That's Visa, MasterCard, Discover. And then you see how much they did in sales in those different card brands. That's only about 30% of the data that we need to put you on the best program for your business. Luckily for this customer, we actually did have that data. So if you look here, if you look at all the VS, that's about 20 different types of Visa cards that this customer took in this particular month. The one that I have highlighted, you'll see they took it 34 times. That could be 34 different customers. This business owner can't just look at that card and say, oh, this is a purchasing card. We know what this is, right? They have no idea. The only thing that knows is their swiper, okay? They swipe that in there. They were charged 2.7% plus an additional 10 cents on that card, okay? On that Visa purchasing card. So what I'm going to show you next is a side-by-side comparison. Before I pull that up, I want to break down our system. Our system that plugs in with ActionFlow is called IQ Pro. What IQ Pro is essentially the software that we have developed that's going to allow the business cards that you're taking to qualify at cost. Okay, so it's going to recognize it. Instead of it getting taken to a higher rate, which is what's happening for this customer, we take it all the way down to cost. But if we don't have that data, we can't do that, because then we risk losing money on a month-to-month basis. So we're automatically going to have to bid high so we don't lose money. If we have the data, then we can do what I'm about to show you here. If you look at this here, you see where it says that same card, the Visa's purchasing card. To the left-hand side was their old processor. To the right-hand side is Basys. Where they were being charged 2.7%, we were able to take that card down to 1.9%. And on that one card, we saved them $1,300. If they would have taken $500,000 on that card type, we would have taken that down. If they would have taken $3,000 on that card, we would have saved them money. So what this business owner knows is no matter what card they take, they're not going to be penalized for it. They're actually going to have a system that sets them up for success. This particular customer, we save them over almost $32,000 a year. Okay. Very similar business model as all of you run. We already have several ActionFlow customers that we've saved thousands and even tens of thousands of dollars a year. And the whole process from start to finish with me, once I get your statements, is typically, unless you have a lot of questions, if you do, that's fine. It's usually 15 minutes, sometimes less than that. Okay. So obviously, we walked through a lot with you. And if you have any questions, I know we have about 10 more minutes here, but a lot of times people ask, what's the cost? Hopefully I just answered your question. I can't just throw a rate at you. If somebody asks me that, I say, we're going to be between 2 to 3%. Okay. I can't tell you an exact because I don't even know what card you're taking. Okay. How quickly do you get your money? With credit card processing, it's next day funding. Okay. With ACH, it has to go through a bank clearinghouse. So it's usually 2 to 3 days. Okay. And then PCI, as I told you before, that's a common question, but we have a team that literally will hold your hand and essentially do it for you. Legally, you're supposed to be on the call because it's a self-assessment questionnaire, but our team, they're professionals at it. And it literally takes them typically less than 5 minutes, especially after your first year. And we're very proactive on making sure we get your attention to get you compliant. So, Kyle, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but Josiah or anybody else, if you have any questions, while we have time, we're happy to help.
Yeah, we can open it up for questions. Thanks, guys. That was helpful. And yeah, feel free to unmute yourself, put it in the chat, whatever way you would like to ask your question.
I'm going to ask a question just because I've been through this several times and it's confusing. So like sometimes you don't even know enough to answer the question, ask a question. But I want to clarify something, Kyle. And I think I think I kind of know the answer, but I want to double check this. And I also want people to hear this. You mentioned PCI compliance, and if you're not compliant, there are risk of fines. So obviously you want to reduce the risk of fines. But is it also true that by being PCI compliant, you are reducing the fees that you're having to pay? Does PCI compliance impact the fees that you pay?
No, most processors or all processors charge a non-compliance fee that can be anywhere from $10 additional a month up to, I've seen it as high as $150 a month, but it does not impact the rates. And if people say that it does, it's just not how it works. You might have been told that by other processors. They look for any reason, right, typically, but that's not the case.
Well, what is, okay, I'm good. I want to get my vocabulary down, but what is it that does, like, I'm pretty sure I've heard that, like, by giving more data and reducing the risk, you are able to offer more competitive fees by providing the credit card company more data. So maybe I was mixing that up with PCI, but can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that's what our gateway does. So we qualify. So there's 3 tiers of rates on a card. There's what's called level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 being the worst possible rate, level 3 being the best. The way that you get, for example, level 3 pricing or even level 2 pricing is you provide X amount of line items of data, like PO number, invoice number, customer address, first name, last name, firstborn child, right? You're having to provide a lot of stuff that you probably don't have available that our gateway, IQ Pro, automatically is programmed to provide. So that's where those qualifications happen automatically, Reese, without your customers having to provide that data.
Okay. So just, I mean, because to me, that was like, just to take a big step back, as we were looking at credit card providers, we cared a whole lot about customer service and the promoter scores and all that. And that was a big plus in favor of Basys. But they also mentioned this ability, like, to automatically collect data. And the thing I didn't realize, which again, it's taken me a while, but it's kind of clicked, like, if Mrs. Smith goes and pays $5,000 for her countertops, so she gives the card to ABC, to the fabricator, and that card gives $5,000 to the fabricator, right? So the card company or somebody, maybe, somebody gave $5,000 to ABC Countertops because Mrs. Smith gave them a card. Well, then the card company has to go back a month later when Mrs. Smith pays her statement and hopefully get that $5,000 from Mrs. Smith. So in effect, they're loaning $5,000. They're fronting $5,000 to the fabricator company, and they're just hoping to get it back from Mrs. Smith. There could be fraud, or could be any number of things why they wouldn't get that back, but there is a risk there. So to the extent that they can reduce the risk, just like an insurance company, if you can reduce the risk, you can charge a lower fee. So what I thought was pretty cool, in addition to great customer service, Basys is able to provide information to the credit card company that reduces the risk and allows them to charge a lower fee. And they do this kind of automatically as part of their processing. Did I say that accurately, Kyle?
You did a great job.
All right.
As always, Reese. So, does anybody have any questions at all? If not, I'll just be calling you. I know I've spoke with several of you that are on here as well, so.
Hey, I want to, okay, so I hope that was a long enough pause. I mean, certainly I don't want to be taking up the time, but I do want to ask, we call this, we branded this feature Action Pay. And, we did have another payment provider, which we had some pretty serious problems with, so we switched to Basys. So, but the truth is only like 30% of our clients signed up for Action Pay, even with the other. And in my mind, it's sort of a no-brainer. I mean, it's right within ActionFlow. You can click a button, or you can put a link in your email, send an email to Mrs. Smith. Here's your quote. Click this link and pay your 50% deposit. So like right when they get the quote, they got an email, they can pay that deposit right up front. Or you can have ways where you can take the card over the phone. So it makes it really easy for you guys to get paid. And you can do it ACH or credit card. And yet, like only, is it our fault that we aren't explaining this well enough? Why are only 30%? And not only that, but I think that Basys is going to give you lower fees. So it'll be lower fees, more convenient. I mean, is there something I'm missing? Now, I understand you guys, that is the fabricators, are busy. You don't want to mess with it. You got a ton of things to worry about. And yeah, 1% or a few percentage on your credit card fees maybe doesn't seem like a lot. But is there a reason not to do this? I mean, I guess that's the answer. And, maybe there's something I'm not thinking of, but I don't know if any of you fabricators can say, if it truly is easier and less cost, more convenient, is there some reason not to move forward with integrating your payments through ActionFlow? So you can answer that or ask any questions that you might have. Well, if there's no reason that you people can give not to sign up, anyone who's not signed up, I'm expecting you to sign up. Well, again, I understand there's lots of stuff going on, and it does take some time and some effort, but I do honestly believe that the effort is going to pay off in multiple ways long term, and I would encourage you all to take the step and get signed up for this service.
Awesome. Well, if nobody has questions, Reese, I appreciate that. Josiah and team, we do appreciate the time. And anything you need, any questions you do have that you want to take offline, I'm available. My direct line you guys should have. If you don't, here it is, 913-307-2779. For those of you who maybe just called in, again, that's 913-307-2779. And then my email is just my first initial, which is K, and then brown like the color, @basyspro.com. So Josiah, anything, or are we good to go here?
Yeah, we're good to go. I will send out this recording. I'll probably just put that same contact info in the email that goes out with this recording. And yeah, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.